The journey had been long and exhausting, yet the moment I stepped off the rickety bus, a renewed sense of energy coursed through me. The village of Ndemu, hidden away in the embrace of rolling green hills, lay before me like a secret whispered by the earth itself. The golden glow of dawn bathed the land in warmth, casting long shadows and illuminating the dewdrops that clung to every leaf and blade of grass. The air smelled of damp earth and distant wood smoke, a scent both foreign and strangely comforting. I hoisted my worn travel bag onto my shoulder, my boots crunching softly against the dirt path. The bus, its engine groaning in protest, sputtered away, leaving behind only the dust swirling in its wake. I was alone now, standing at the entrance of a world that felt like a page torn from an ancient tale. The village stretched out before me, a collection of huts with thatched roofs, their mud walls adorned with intricate carvings. Some depicted animals, elephants, lions, birds in flight, while others bore symbols I did not recognize. The structures stood in harmony with nature, nestled among trees whose branches swayed gently in the morning breeze. Chickens pecked at the ground, and goats ambled lazily in search of food. As I took my first cautious steps forward, a voice called out from ahead. "Welcome, traveler." Turning, I saw an elderly man approaching, his walking staff thumping rhythmically against the ground. He was clad in a flowing robe of deep blue, his silver hair neatly gathered at the nape of his neck. His face was marked with deep lines, but his eyes held an undeniable warmth. "I am Baba Chikandi," he said, his voice rich and steady. "You must be weary from your travels." I nodded, offering a polite smile. "It was a long journey, but I am grateful to be here." He gestured for me to follow, and together we made our way into the village. Along the way, villagers paused their morning routines to greet me with smiles and nods. Women carrying bundles of firewood on their heads exchanged curious glances, while children peeked out from behind walls, their giggles barely contained. Despite my foreign presence, there was no hostility here, only curiosity and an unmistakable sense of welcome. As we walked, I took in the sights and sounds that surrounded me. Nearby, a group of women sat weaving baskets from dried grass, their hands moving skillfully as they chatted in a language unfamiliar to me. Further ahead, men worked together to repair the roof of a hut, passing bundles of straw between them with practiced ease. Everything had a rhythm, a purpose, a connection that pulsed through the village like a living heartbeat. "You have come at an auspicious time," Baba Chikandi said, interrupting my thoughts. "Tonight, we celebrate the harvest." "The harvest?" I repeated, intrigued. He nodded. "It is a time of gratitude, of honoring the land and our ancestors. You are fortunate to witness it. A celebration. What better way to immerse myself in this new world?" I felt the excitement stir within me, mingling with my exhaustion. As we reached the heart of the village, I spotted a large communal space where villagers gathered. At its center stood a great fire pit, now cold, but clearly prepared for the night's festivities. Surrounding it were simple wooden benches and woven mats, placed in a circle as if inviting connection. Baba Chikandi turned to me.
"Come.
You must eat and rest before the celebrations begin." I followed him toward a modest hut on the edge of the clearing, the first threads of belonging weaving themselves into the fabric of my journey. The midday sun hung high in the sky, casting golden light upon the village of Ndemu. The morning's freshness had faded into a gentle heat, warming the earth beneath my feet as I stepped outside the hut Baba Chikandi had led me to. After a short rest, my mind was eager to absorb more of this place, its people, and the stories that lived in every corner. The village was alive with movement. Women gathered near a communal cooking area, stirring large pots filled with rich, aromatic stews. The scent of roasting maize mixed with the subtle sweetness of groundnuts, making my stomach growl in anticipation. Some villagers pounded cassava into flour, their rhythmic thudding adding to the symphony of daily life. Baba Chikandi, ever the gracious host, beckoned me over to a shaded space beneath a towering baobab tree. "Come, traveler," he said, gesturing for me to sit on a wooden stool. You must understand our ways, not just see them. I sat eagerly, watching as an elderly woman with deep-set wrinkles and kind eyes approached. She carried a bowl of warm, fermented porridge and handed it to me with a knowing smile. "Drink," she said. "It gives strength." I took a cautious sip, the tangy yet smooth taste coating my tongue. It was different from anything I had tried before, but comforting in an unfamiliar way. Baba Chikandi nodded approvingly. "This is Tagwa. It has been made here for generations." Nearby, a group of children played, their laughter light and infectious. A young boy named Django, whom I had met briefly earlier, ran up to me, his bright eyes filled with excitement. "Come, I show you something." Curious, I followed him past the huts to a small field where a group of young men practiced an intricate dance. Their feet moved in perfect sync, kicking up dust as they leapt and spun with incredible precision. The drumming that accompanied their movements sent vibrations through the ground, pulsing through my very being. "This is Ngoma," Django explained, "the dance of our ancestors." As I watched, an elder, his posture regal despite his years, approached and placed a hand on my shoulder. "To understand our people, you must feel the rhythm of our land." Before I could react, one of the dancers extended his hand, beckoning me to join. The crowd, sensing my hesitation, encouraged me with cheers and warm smiles. I had never danced like this before, but something about the moment, the energy, the unity, gave me the courage to try. I stepped forward, mimicking the movements as best as I could. The villagers laughed, not in ridicule, but in shared joy. A woman clapped her hands, guiding my steps with rhythmic cues. Soon, I felt the pulse of the drums guide me, and my movements became less stiff, more natural. I was not just a visitor watching from the outside. I was becoming a part of the moment, part of the experience. The dance ended with a resounding cheer, and my heart pounded in my chest, not from exertion, but from exhilaration. The elder patted my back. "Now you begin to see," he said. As evening approached, preparations for the harvest celebration intensified. The scent of food thickened the air, and the village's open space transformed with decorations of woven garlands and vibrant fabrics. Fires were lit, their flickering glow illuminating eager faces. The night promised something special, something sacred, and I knew that my journey of discovery had only just begun. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village of Ndemu came alive with an electric energy. The warmth of the day gave way to a cool, refreshing breeze, and the scent of roasted maize and slow-cooked meat filled the air. The harvest celebration was beginning, and I felt a growing excitement within me as I stepped into the heart of the village, where the festivities were about to unfold. The great communal fire pit that had been dormant earlier now blazed with a brilliant glow, casting flickering shadows across the gathering space. Around it, villagers adorned in their finest traditional garments moved gracefully, their kitenge fabrics dyed in vibrant hues of red, blue, and gold. Intricate beadwork gleamed under the firelight, accentuating the movements of dancers as they prepared for the night's performances. Baba Chikandi found me among the crowd, his smile warm and knowing. "Tonight, we honor the land, the ancestors, and the bonds that tie us together," he said, handing me a carved wooden cup filled with a local brew. "Drink, and let the spirit of the harvest fill you." I took a sip, the slightly sweet and fermented taste tingling on my tongue. Around me, the celebration had begun in earnest. Drummers formed a semicircle near the fire, their hands striking animal skin drums with a rhythmic power that seemed to reverberate through my very bones. The tempo started slow, deliberate, as if calling forth unseen forces to join in the revelry. A group of women stepped forward, their movements fluid and expressive as they danced in perfect synchronization with the beat. Their voices rose in harmonious song, a melody both haunting and beautiful, speaking of gratitude, of the cycle of life, and of the spirits who watched over them. The crowd clapped along, the atmosphere thick with joy and reverence. I watched in awe, but before long, a young man named Mwenda, whom I had met earlier, grabbed my arm with an enthusiastic grin. "You must dance," he insisted, pulling me toward the circle. I hesitated at first, but the infectious energy of the moment left no room for shyness. The villagers cheered as I stepped forward, mimicking the steps I had observed earlier. My movements were clumsy, but my efforts were met with encouragement, laughter, and guiding hands showing me the way. As I let go of my inhibitions, my body found the rhythm, and soon I was dancing not as an outsider, but as one with the village, caught up in the collective heartbeat of Ndemu. The festivities continued late into the night. Plates of rich, flavorful food were passed around, grilled meat marinated in aromatic spices, cassava, stews brimming with vegetables and herbs. I ate heartily, savoring every bite, and exchanged stories with the villagers who sat beside me. They spoke of past harvests, of lessons learned from the land, and of the deep-rooted traditions that had been preserved for generations. As the night wore on, Baba Chikandi stood and raised his hands for silence. The crowd quieted, anticipation in their eyes. "Tonight, we share stories," he declared. "For a harvest is not just of crops, but of wisdom and experience." One by one, villagers came forward, recounting tales of their ancestors, of hardships overcome, of love, loss, and the unbreakable spirit of their people. Each story was met with nods of understanding, laughter, or solemn reflection. When the time came for me to speak, I hesitated. What could I offer to such a rich tapestry of wisdom? Yet the expectant faces around me gave me courage. I spoke of my journey, of my search for something I could not quite name. I spoke of what I had already learned in Ndemu, the power of community, of tradition, of embracing the moment. When I finished, Baba Chikandi nodded approvingly. "You see now," he said, "that true discovery is not of places, but of self." As the fire burned low and the stars shimmered overhead, I realized that this night, this experience, was something I would carry with me forever. The harvest celebration had not only welcomed me into its fold, but had also planted something deep within me, a newfound understanding of the world and my place in it. The morning after the harvest celebration, the village of Ndemu was unusually quiet. The rhythmic drumming and joyous laughter of the night before had faded into a peaceful silence, broken only by the chirping of birds and the occasional rustling of leaves in the morning breeze. The air was crisp, and the golden light of dawn stretched lazily across the sky, casting long shadows on the earth. I stepped outside my hut, inhaling deeply, the scent of damp soil and smoldering embers from last night's fires lingering in the air. Villagers moved about their morning routines at a slower pace, their movements unhurried. Some women carried clay pots to fetch water, while men tended to livestock grazing on the outskirts of the village. Baba Chikandi greeted me with his usual warm smile. "Come, traveler. Today we walk to the river," he said, motioning for me to follow. "There is something you must learn." Curious, I fell into step beside him as we made our way through a narrow path lined with towering baobab trees. The village gradually faded behind us, replaced by the lush green of the surrounding forest. The sound of rushing water grew louder, and soon we arrived at the riverbank. The water was clear, its surface reflecting the sky above. Children splashed in the shallows, their laughter ringing through the air. Django, the young boy I had met earlier, sat on a smooth rock near the river's edge, tossing pebbles into the water. He looked up as we approached, his eyes bright with curiosity. Baba Chikandi settled onto a nearby stone, gesturing for me to sit as well. "Water is life," Baba Chikandi began, dipping his hand into the cool stream. "It nourishes our land, quenches our thirst, and guides us if we are willing to listen." I watched as the water flowed steadily, its current unwavering despite the occasional rock disrupting its path. "What do you mean by guides us?" I asked, intrigued. Django spoke up before Baba Chikandi could answer. "Look at the river. It does not fight the obstacles in its way. It moves around them, over them, always flowing forward. That is how we must live." Baba Chikandi nodded approvingly. "In life, there will always be stones in our path. Some will be small, easy to step over. Others will be large, seeming impossible to pass. But like the river, we must find our way through, without losing ourselves. I let his words sink in as I watched the water swirl around a particularly large rock, its path never truly hindered. It was a simple yet profound lesson, one that resonated deeply within me. Django picked up a leaf and placed it on the surface of the river. The current carried it gently downstream. "If you fight the flow, you will only tire yourself," he said. "But if you move with it, you will go far." "Baba," Chikandi smiled at the boy. "The wisdom of our ancestors lives in our children," he said, patting Django's shoulder. "Even the youngest among us can teach the greatest lessons." For a long time, we sat there in silence, simply watching the river move, feeling its quiet strength. The lesson was not just in words, but in the rhythm of nature itself, in the gentle yet persistent flow of water that had been moving long before us and would continue long after. As we made our way back to the village, I felt different, lighter somehow. The river had given me something intangible, a newfound sense of peace, a perspective I hadn't considered before. The journey of discovery was not just about experiencing new places, but about learning to move with the currents of life, embracing each twist and turn with grace. The lesson of the river would stay with me, a guiding force on whatever path lay ahead.